Because I went to X to try to.
How you doing, everybody? It is the third episode of the new genre, and so I wanted to. This one, it's kind of, show up sharper for, for every interaction. Really, it is what it means, having that precision and focus when you're kind of in the sale, in the interaction, when customers walking up on that lot, or you're going to show a house. Do you have the focus? And really, what have you been what'd you do prior to prep yourself for that appointment? Did you just go over, say, product information, or did you take a couple of minutes and do you have a ritual where you're doing some, breathing to keep yourself calm? And get yourself in a physical state so your mindset is right, and you can, kind of maybe wipe out the last interaction that maybe didn't go so well, or some phone calls that you had a lot of no's or hang-ups, or people being rude to you, whatever it may have been. How are you letting go of that so your next interaction can be as productive as possible, give you the best chance? And so, one thing I want to just state before we move forward is, when I'm talking about this, it's not just about you want to be in the best state so you're making commission, right? Or money, because that'll come. You want to be in the proper mindset, because you want to keep the client at the center of everything you're doing, right? So if you're in a pissed off mood because of the last customer, and you're bringing that luggage or baggage to the next interaction, right? Yeah, you're hurting yourself, definitely, with commission, but what you're doing is you're shortchanging that customer that took the time to come down to wherever you're working or pick up the phone to talk to you. And instead of you giving them, your very best by trying to find out what they need, what their needs are, and provide that solution, which, hopefully you're working for a company that you believe in their product, and you believe in what it can, say, fix, or what problems it can solve, right? And if you believe that, and you have that conviction, and you're pissed off about the last 5 people that came in, so that's what, when I say it, I don't want to have to always like preface it, but the customer is always at the center of everything we do, what their needs are, why they're there. And that's why it's important to have the correct mindset. Okay. So we'll leave that there. And so, are you creating momentum, or are you creating excuses? So it's either one, right? And that's where it's going to start and stop with, as far as I'm concerned. There's no way to have precision in sales, have the proper mindset, be as sharp as you can be during an interaction, if you're not building positive momentum, and you're just building excuses on why something didn't go well in the past, right? Why the last 5 customers said no to you, right? If you're closing for somebody, and you got 5 passes in a row, and customers just outright telling you no, how are you, as a closer, supposed to react? How are you reacting? And, what is your thought process? So this is what I want to get into, because, again, if you're not building momentum, you're building excuses. That's exactly what's happening, right? And so when it comes to certain things, could be the most patient, understanding, and I will show you, and coach, with endless patience, right? But there's certain things when it comes down to, if you're not putting the work in, and at least trying to put your best self forward, and you're one of the excuse makers, right? You talk a big game, or you don't have it to like move forward. And then don't be a closer. Work on being an individual contributor, and you get really good at setting people up, finding out all the information, and then passing them to a closer who can really, close. And so something to think about And either way, it's not, and again, it's not a bad thing. Okay. You may just not be ready right now. And that, that's fine. We're all on the path we're on. We are all doing probably we all try to do the best, I guess, that we can do with the skills, abilities, and mindset that we have, right? With the information we have, we try to make the best decision possible with the information we have. So if you're not dealing with the best information, junk in, junk out, right? Your brain's like a supercomputer. If you're putting negative in, if you're pissed off and putting that in, that junk is going to come right back out. And it's going to come out of the customer, but you're going to walk around pissed off all day, every day. And no, I don't want anybody to live that way. I want you to, be invigorated when somebody comes on your car lot, or you have a house to show, or someone calls in because you get inbound calls, to sell whatever product you have, or someone answers the door when you knock on it, right? And they're not hiding behind the door. They actually answer it, even if you can't get in there, but you're able to do your introduction. You should do every introduction like it's the last introduction you're going to do, or it's the introduction that leads you to $1 million sale. Because even if they shut the door in your face after the introduction, be grateful for the fact you're getting your reps in. And when you do that, and you can maybe move one step further with those people, that's a success, man. And you got to look at it that way. It's not always just about the sale. That is that, and again, all the indicators, everything that we look at, all the information that the analytics that we would look at as a sales manager, or if you're a salesman, any of those analytics, everything's going to come down to the sale, right? You want to make the sales. You have to, right? That's how you're going to eat. But if you are going to go up to a door and you can tell somebody comes up and they answer the door, you should have an elated look on your face that someone actually opened the door for you, right? In these days, it's not like it used to be. So, if you can start to shift your mindset, and it is literally a 1 degree shift, right? And what'll happen is over time, kind of like when you're driving the ball, anyone who ever played golf, if your club head isn't perfectly straight, it's 1 degree tilted like that, and you hit a perfect swing, that 1 degree, maybe for the first 50 yards ain't going to make a big difference. But if you're driving that 280 yards, 300 yards, that 1 degree is going to put your ball on the wrong fairway of a different hole. That's how far off you're going to be. And so it's the same concept, where that 1 degree shift in your mindset, it maybe losing that one sale isn't going to make a huge difference, right? But what that does, it leads to more upset feeling, frustration. Why me? I get the wrong block. I have no luck. Why does this person have the luck? Yeah, right. So you just start to go down that road where by the time you finish doing your however knocks you're supposed to do, you are so far off course that they can answer the door and throw a bag of money at you, and you'll probably leave it on the floor, or tell you, hey, in my backyard, you go ahead, go dig for gold, right? And normally you'd probably go back there with a crane, but because you're so pissed off and your mindset is so shitty, right, that you go back there with a teaspoon, and you're wondering why you're not excavating as much gold as the next person, right? So it makes a difference, and it's those little things that make you as sharp as you can be, right? Those little things that start to separate you from the pack. And again, it's not so much of you want the number 1 guy, number 2 guy. And it's competition's all. I'm very competitive, but I've learned I'm not competitive with other people. I look at it like, as long as if everybody is doing well and successful, what'll happen is it'll make me want to, put my best in, but also their energy is going to be good. They're not going to walk around like a negative kind of wet tarp over everybody, because they're always pissed off and they're always sucking energy out of the room. There's more good energy. And I look at it like, everybody do your best, and I'm going to do mine, right? And let's see let's see where we all let the chips fall where they may. And so when stuff like that happens, what does happen is the company you work for starts to do better money-wise. So maybe your commission grid goes up. Maybe you get some different products. Maybe you get some different amenities in the office that make you feel like a human being, and you're not like clumped in these little cubicles anymore, right? Maybe they get your headset, whatever it may be, but they're able to invest back into you guys, because really, when it comes to companies, to me, sales people, the sales force is the holy grail as far as I'm concerned. They're the ones that keep those lights on and paying the bills. So if you don't have a good sales team, there's a company that's not making a ton of revenue if you're not out there. So something to think about. Now, again, when you're moving from momentum or you're moving to excuses, and so closing with conviction in uncertain times and uncertain markets. So although I think Trump is doing a great job so far, it may look a little chaotic, but when you start to see some things, and you could even actually go on Craigslist and you see the riots in LA, but there's actually, you go on Craigslist and you can see it's under general job listings, and they're paying $6,500 to $12,000 to people who are, if they have experience in being fearless, in being violent, in being able to follow or lead other people who are going to be violent and fearless, to do to keep creating this chaos. And so just a side note is, everybody who's out there, be careful, please. Watch what you're doing, watch your family, be protective, be smart. And you know what, don't engage. I think that's where they want to keep catching everybody up, is when you feel like you have to go there and fight, whether it's, because it's America and what they're doing there, or God forbid they hurt somebody, and so just keep your head on straight, keep a good mind frame, stay as positive as possible, keep your family protected, try and see a little bit down the road, and eliminate some bad decision making now. And not that it's bad, but that could lead to maybe one of your kids being kind of a straggler out there with her friends, say, or his friends, and they're in a city where they're bringing these bricks, right? There's these cities that have slabs of bricks being sent there again, right? Seems almost reminiscent to back when it was the BLM protest or riots, and they're trying to tell us, don't believe your lying eyes, right? That the fires, the people on fire, the people getting killed and raped and hit with bricks off the head and cement cups and all that other shit. That don't believe your lying eyes, and it seems like that's happening again. So hopefully Trump could get ahead of this, get some of the military out there, and just really put a stomp down on somebody, and make a real example of doing this in a country like America, because we're tolerant. This is happening. All right. So uncertain markets. When you're a closer, when you're a professional, right? A closer and you're a professional closer, uncertain markets are kind of like that's a dream, right? Because when everything is certain and everybody's like moving forward, anyone could be a closer, right? But when there's uncertainty and the public is kind of scared, right? They're scared into paralysis, or they're scared and they're just not going to do anything, or they don't understand why this is this and that's that, and why is this volatile and why is that moving like this, and they're going down this kind of rabbit hole that is just, all it does is intensify the fear. And the way our brains are patterned is it'll take you right into high cortisol levels, right? The fear hormone, and your brain goes right to fight or flight. And once fear outweighs greed, your brain is totally into just flight. Get out of there, right? Go, get out, you're going to get killed. That's what your brain is telling you. That's what your brain is doing. That's the response it's having. And that was just instinctual, really, back in the day to protect us from, if we thought there was a saber-toothed cat, or there was, another person there that had a bigger club than us that can club us, or whatever it may be. That's what our brain was geared towards, to protect us. And so it works the same way without that impending danger, but it works the same way. So when these uncertain times are coming, what are you doing as a closer? So it was a longer open than I wanted it to be, but I just wanted to cover a few of those things and really kind of get you prepped for what we're going to do. We're going to move quick through this one. It's fundamental. Cause I want to start and build up to where we get really more advanced, but without this, what happens is you're putting the cart before the horse, and most people have not been trained properly. Most people, their sales managers, like I said, are shit. There's places that I go that I work at, and I'm old. I'm older now, and it's surprising still that this is available, but there's like literally no training, and you're out there just kind of swinging in the wind, hoping you're doing it right, but the sale is taking longer than it should because you have no idea what the processes are. To sell is to sell, right? You find out what the needs are, and you match the features, tell them how those features can benefit them, and that once they can see that solution fits them, why wouldn't they take the next step, right? And so you just move through the sale. But the process, as far as what paperwork has to get done and what order, or do you have to keep backtracking, and so then you got to keep repeating stuff or refilling out paperwork because you didn't do one or the and so stuff like that could really start to become frustrating, really start to put stress on, because you feel like you're having your first sale, but now instead of it taking 40 minutes, it's taken 3 hours because you haven't been trained. So that is happening, but it also is incumbent on all of us to open our mouth and say, hey, I need to be trained. Someone has to train me now. I want to know what the process is. I want to know because I want to take care of the customers the right way, and I don't want to be shortchanged, and therefore I don't want to shortchange a customer. And you have to continue to beat that drum, even if it frustrates a manager. You do it respectfully, but you make sure you stay with it, because ultimately they're going to have respect for the fact that you were so persistent and consistent moving forward, because that would probably be your personality when you're with the customer, to be respectful, but consistently persistent, and persistence beats resistance, right? So that's a good sign. And after the manager's irritated with you, when he thinks about that, if he's a good manager, he'll be like, okay, this is going to be a good guy. Let's get him trained up. So, but anyway, everybody who's watching, welcome to the John Drop. And so, I want to really be your partner in this, in mental sharpness, in market awareness, and then relentless execution, right? With that relaxed intensity, but we're relentless. And when you get on somebody, right? When you have that customer, and I'll just say, if you're at a dealership, that customer comes in, treat that customer like it's the last one you have, right? And that was one thing that one of the things I felt that I did really well, is that when a customer came in, it didn't matter how long it was taking, what they wanted to do. You adapt through the sale, but whether it took 2 hours to get it done, or it took 5 hours and I was there to midnight, having to go, follow someone back home to get a second trade in for the sale and do what you have to do. When I lock on, it's like a pit bull. My jaw locks down on that customer, and that's it. When someone comes in, I fully believe when someone walks on a lot, that if I'm talking to somebody, that it is a done deal. Like if they come on that lot and I get them, the sale is already done. There's no way they're leaving without getting, because I know we have a great product. We have some of the safest vehicles. We have some of the best pre-owned vehicles. We have, we do great deals. I know what software we have to undercut everybody else in price. I know we're getting them a great price. So all those things are lined up. And then I know that I am not looking to just chase commission. I don't care, I don't care about, $1,000 today. I want a customer that when their daughter needs a car, their cousin, their friend, or they need another car, whatever it may be, that they're going to come back to me knowing I did the right thing, and the money will follow. So don't chase the money. What you want to be relentless at is finding out what your customers' needs are to the most detailed extent you can. That makes sense, right? And then you're writing it down, right? You're mirroring, you're matching their behavior, their tone, right? So if they're talking in a slow way, and they need a car that can seat 5 people, if you're like, yeah, you know what, we got that car, it's not going to be a match, right? That's not the person you need to have that crazy. You want to match it to an extent, right? You don't want to be a mirror. It's kind of like the proverbial mirror, not like a literal mirror. So if they're doing shit, you don't want to, if they're going like that when they talk, you don't want to be doing that too. But you want to match kind of the cadence, the tone, and you want to be right there, right? And we'll go over how you can handle objections in that way while you reframe people. How you doing, Lori? Let's see. People also, I believe, buy from other people that they appreciate, respect, and/or wish to emulate. Great show. I will have to watch the replay. Thanks, John. Yeah, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, and like they said, what they told me when I was a young broker on Wall Street, they said, hey, people in bad markets, people fire their brokers. They don't fire their friends, right? So the more you can create that familiarity, that familiar feeling of where it's comfortable and they feel like they're opening up to you, they'll keep business with you. And it was the same thing when I was in the banks. There were so many people that would lose money out of the bank. When I managed my bank branch, there could have been another bank giving 2% more on CDs or savings. My customers were not leaving my branch because they knew that even though the bank may have been given a lower rate that I was working at, that I made sure they were taken care of, their kids were taken care of, and they can get me anytime. I handled their problems. I owned it, and I took care of it, right? So that's what's important to do, and that's how you really create a clientele that will follow. And so that relentless execution is what's important. And this one, like I said, I'm going to try and get through a little quicker today, but I put some notes because this one I think is going to be the catalyst to get us to the next level, of advancing forward. Not that we're going to continue to lay the same layer of fundamental. Okay, so. So last week we broke down the sales structure, right? Market clarity, why it's important to have market clarity. But the truth is that, you can know the strategy, right? You can recite back to me what I'm going to tell you now on how to do, how would you overcome an objection, right? Or how you would create rapport, or if you're in person, since verbal is only 7% of communication, right? How are you using your tonality, body language, and how are you reading your customer's body language? Are you actively listening and watching as you're saying things? Are you watching how they're reacting to it? Where is it hitting? Is it landing the right way, or is it not? Right? If not, don't be afraid to ask the question. Handle it right away. Stop being scared to talk about whether it's fees, whether it's again, a bad body language reaction they had, to go like, hey, do you have any questions? I want to stop there. You kind of look like something's off after I just was talking about this, and this is what happened. And then you kind of see where they're coming from, so you can handle that objection and put it to bed, or handle that miscommunication and put it to bed. And then we know we're not going to go down that road because something about that's triggering them to go down a wrong way and perceiving that we're talking about something totally different, right? And so that's how you adapt on the fly. So, but that type of strategy by you maybe being able to say it to me, that's great. But if you don't employ it, right? If you don't, like, knowledge isn't power. When people say that, it always bogs my mind, because how would knowledge be power, right? If there's no action behind it. Knowledge is knowledge, right? Like a gun is a gun, right? But if I have it in my holster and I never take it out of my holster, what is the gun? A killing machine? No, right? The action has to be taken, right? Then that's when you got a problem. And it's the same thing with sales. If you're not taking action or putting it in motion, the strategy is just a theory. It's like you're a college professor talking theory, sales theory, right? And that's not what we are. This is not a podcast for that. This is a podcast for people who want to close business, who want to link with a customer and create not only rapport, but create a chemical bond with the customer that it almost feels familial. And they're opening up in a way that they're not sure why they're opening up so much to you. And it's the way that I'm talking about interacting. Because when you can do that, when you have somebody who you're talking to, and I can see and read your body language, how you're reacting, depending on what cultures are different, what they may deem offensive or not offensive, right? What they deem as sacred or important. How are you handling it? Not in a way where it's obvious that you're trying to say what you need to say for them to like you, because that's disingenuous, that falls flat, that's cheap, and they're not going to like you. They're going to think you're a charlatan, right? They're going to think you're trying to hoodwink them, right? But if you care enough to know what's happening and you stare away from it, and you do it in a subtle way that is thoughtful, right? And it's meaningful, and there's certain things that you're doing that are lending them to feel comfortable in places where nobody gives a shit, and that's what they're used to, and they don't care to make anyone feel comfortable, right? And so once you can see, it's so important to as you start to build your skill level, you keep building your awareness, and and that's why it's important to take inventory every night, right? You set your goals in the morning and you take inventory at night. What goals did you hit? What did you do well? What are some challenges you had that you need to work on? And again, we positively reinforce more than anything. That's what we're positive. We know what we did wrong. We don't beat ourselves up about it. But you want to create that momentum and that habit every day. And so, again, we don't want to be strategists without motion, because that's just a theory. So the question really becomes, did you move, or did you rationalize your way out of action? And that's another, again, I could probably do a whole show on that, but human beings rationalize themselves out of action, why they can't take action, especially salespeople, because you know what? Some people it comes natural to, and some people, they'll say, "Oh, that's not," and that's a lot of ego. Because I'll tell you, I know some of the most fearless guys on the streets in Brooklyn. When it came to like actual sales and interacting and trying to like go, and you're going back and forth, and people are around and they're hearing you on the phone, or they're seeing you in person with somebody, and you're just getting hammered by the customer. It's embarrassing, right? You don't even know where to go from there. You're just like, I need someone to come to. I don't know what to do. He's killing me, right? Or she's killing me. I don't know what to do. And so when that becomes very, fearful, and not in a way you're going to get hurt or anything, but your ego takes a hit. You feel like a schmuck, right? You feel like, what an asshole. I'm just, what a piece of garbage. I'm supposed to be a sales guy here, and I'm supposed, it makes sales, and I can't get past like my introduction with this. He's just killing me. It hitting me with questions all over the place, and whatever I say, he's just like bashing me, and sometimes he's making actually a pretty good point. And then then I'm going, and then it's making the customer even go harder at me, right? And so it just, that momentum that's going the wrong way, right? We're building negative momentum there, and that negative momentum is just as bad as staying stagnant. And like, so if you're pushing a rock up a hill, you're rolling a big rock up a hill and you're gaining momentum, that's awesome. But then if you just decide out of nowhere that you're going to procrastinate a little bit and you stop, now you got to try to create momentum again, and you're trying to push that rock uphill to get it started again. That momentum is hard to start because you're pushing it uphill again. So once you gain momentum, advance it. Do not give that position away. Although we always want to make the client think that they are in charge of the interaction, they're really not, right? Indirectly, we are controlling the conversation. We are controlling what's happening in the process we're going through to the best of our ability, right? We control that. We indirectly have the client feel like they're in control by giving them a couple of options that they were able to choose one. And then we can take that road. But that's because we're prepared to talk about any option out there. We know our product, right? We know how to deal with people. We practice, we're role playing, we're always sharpening our axe, right? And so when the time does come, you know that you can ask questions in a certain way. The customer feels like they're in charge because they're making some decisions, but it's they're not really, you're actually guiding everything. You're giving them options. They can choose one. They feel good about themselves, and you let them know how great a choice it is. And you just move right down that alley, right? And you continue to go. So again, relentless execution, and do not rationalize your way out of action. You have to take action. You cannot know every bit of information before you take action. You cannot know close to probably 50 to 75% of probably all the product knowledge of all the products, whatever you're selling. To know every bit of it is not, you'll never start selling. That's what that means. We rationalize out of doing it. Like, oh yeah, nope, I knocked on that door yesterday. We weren't home at this time. Okay, well, knock on it again today, right? Keep going. You have to keep doing it. Stop rationalizing when it comes down to actually taking that action, where you have to put your skills on the line. I'm used to using different words, and I'm trying not to use those words. But when you're trying to put your skills on the line, your ability on the line, and that's your ego is there, and you can look bad, but you're going to put it on the line and see if it's good enough. That for a lot of people is scary, because you don't want to think you're not good enough. And so if you just don't do it, you can fool yourself and rationalize that you are good enough. Yeah. If I get somebody, man, I'll close that shit. But you never knock on a fucking door, right? You don't pick up the phone. Someone picks up the phone, you hang up, right? Even if the pitch is going to sound choppy, pick up the phone, sound choppy, right? Let the customer, if it's your first, time or two, right? But it shouldn't be. You should be role playing, and you should be reading. But even so, the first time that you're on the phone, it may be a little choppy, right? You may have to catch yourself. But if you practiced enough, you'll catch yourself quickly. And as you get a little comfortable, as you go one step after another, so sales is about just moving one step further, moving them down the process, just one step. You don't start off A and then go to Z. A, B, C, right? Brick by brick. Just one more step down the process, right? One more step. Okay, you know what? Let's do the credit app so we can get you exact numbers. And so you'll really have something to think about and discuss with your wife, right? And so you can move forward that one more step. Oh, really? Let me see your keys to your car. So I'll have my pre-owned manager go and take a look so we can give you a value. So we'll give you a full proposal to 2 minutes. Is that fair enough? Right? And as you're saying it, your body language, again, needs to be there. So what I'm doing, if you see it's very disarming, you know what I'll do? Give me the keys, and what I'll do is I'll have my manager, right? He'll go down, he'll look at the car. We'll get it value, so you'll have all the information. So when you go home, you'll have something to discuss with your wife, and you'll have all the numbers, so you compare apples to apples, whatever you got from the other dealership. Does that make sense? Is that good for you, right? And it's like it's very disarming, very nonchalant. And then you got credit app. Now you got the appraisal done, right? And as you're going down, the guest sheet is filled out, because as you're asking questions, you're writing everything down. Customers would love to see you write that down, and then you repeat it to them, right? So they know you care enough to write it down, because you want to know and remember what that situation was for them, or where they're at, right? And why you're going to introduce this product or that product, or, why this would be a good fit for them, right? So all that stuff that you're doing, and what you need down, and what payment do you need? And you kind of go through, and really what you're doing is you're gathering a massive amount of ammunition. And so once you go, okay, so if we can do this and this, which option works best? Sign right here, and I'll get that car into detail. Right? If they say whatever they say as far as an objection, the rebuttal should be pretty standard, because if you have a lot of information on what their needs are, and they're going to get a good, you're trying to get them a good deal on there, where to see if the numbers make sense, right? You have all this ammunition. Go, well, we just said here that you have this and A and B and C. And so when you drove the car, you drove it, you test drove it, you love it, or I showed you around the house, and it fits perfectly. And so you'll grow into the house as you're going to have your next, baby, right? So you have one, and so you have the room, so you'll grow into this house rather than grow out of a house and then have to go buy another one. So it has a backyard for your animals. It has this for this. It has all these things that you wanted. And so that's, I'm sure, still the case, since we just spoke about it today. So if that holds true, what's holding you back, right? What would be holding you back? Oh, I just got to think about it, right? And then we can go on, and we're going to probably do a whole show. We'll do a whole show just on objections and how to answer and what to do. But this is literally going to be just the theory of it. Otherwise, because I can get into I'll do a whole pitch. Because I like doing that stuff. So, but you want to make sure that you are keeping that momentum going, and it's not spoken about enough, I think, because you're always gaining momentum, right? And you should always be gaining momentum in a sale. Everything should be stacked on top of it. It shouldn't be going. If it does anything, it plateaus. It very rarely should it be going downhill. Momentum should always be moving forward and up. And if it does go downhill, because objections aren't what's going downhill. If they object and you don't rebut it correctly, that's throwing an interception, right? If you're a quarterback, that's the bad thing. Throwing it out of bounds if nobody's open, that's not going downhill. That's a smart live to fight another day, right? So if they have an objection and you answer it, you're still gaining momentum, right? Because you're overcoming. But if they have an objection, you don't overcome it, and you get stuck, and you stutter, and you're doing it's because it's something that you left out. That's when we go downhill, right? But that's when you have to be a professional, and you have to cut that off, stop it right there, handle it fully, and then get back up onto the line, right? Because you want to go A to Z, that straight line that the Wolf of Wall Street talks about. He actually named it the straight line method, but basically everyone on Wall Street gets taught, from open to your closing, a straight line is the fastest way to get there. You want to stay on that line. That's your script from opening to close. And the customer's job almost is to take you off that line, right? And so when they take you off that line, it's not that you want to stay off that line. You want to handle the objection, right? You rebut it, and you get back onto your script, right? They take another objection, you rebut it, get onto that script, and always try to get onto that straight line. Don't let them distract you when you start going down all different roads where before you know it, you have your head, in Uranus, right? You don't want that. You don't want to be in the, all in the, in the universe. I said Uranus, but you don't want to be, you have your head up in, with up in the clouds. You want to you want to handle it, get back on the straight line. So, all right. So how do you keep momentum? How do you regain momentum? And how do you sell when the market feels uncertain or flat? So we're going to dive in a little bit here. All right. So again, I took some notes. That's why I'm looking down here. So let's anchor in the numbers. All right. So behind this. So, what's the emotion behind the numbers? So a good thing to know, and which is why I always keep this here. I always like keeping part is the snapshot of the markets, right? You want to know a snapshot of the markets. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You don't, and if they ask you a question, by all means, do not lie. Do not make yourself out to be an expert when you're not, whether it's about crypto or stock or bonds or real estate or whatever it is. You can say, yeah, I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not an expert on real estate, right? I'm not Grant Cardone. That's not, but what I do is keep up on the real estate market as far as what's happening out there, because it affects my clients in a certain way. And I want to make sure I'm complementing what I do. So every holding they have or whatever they're looking to do can work in complement as best as possible in these uncertain times. Does that make sense? Great. Right. And so you let them know, hey, I'm not an expert. I'm not going to get detailed with you, but I'm just telling you, this is what's happening in the overall real estate market. And so when you look at Bitcoin is consolidating, right? Volumes up, but it looks like what they call smart money is positioning itself. XRP and HBAR still under quiet accumulation, so pay attention. And you know that XRP is something that me and Jace talk about a lot in our Crypto Corner show, which again moved to the last Wednesday of every month. And then stocks, we're watching the fear index rise. So the VIX is ticking up, VIX. That's the volatility index, right? The uncertainty kind of index. And earnings are mixed. The narrative is uncertainty. But remember, uncertainty is where closers thrive. So if you're a professional closer and you truly are professional, when everything is volatile and moving like this, what are you selling? Dad, I'll wait. What are you selling? If everything is uncertain, as a closer, what are you selling? Certainty. That's right. So with you have, with some of the things that are going on, just with XRP, HBAR, XLM, again, quietly accumulating. They have real utility. Real world asset tokenization, stable coins. The stable coin regulation is gaining traction, and the big players are really integrating into it. They're not speculating anymore. They're not even using that term. I'm speculating with this. I'm speculating here. They're actually integrating, meaning that they're it's a purposeful investment, that it's not speculative anymore for them. So that's awesome. And HBAR looks like its enterprise is kind of expanding. So that's awesome. And then you have, if you're the closer insight that you would get from that is you want to follow the suit. So if you're doing anything with, DeFi, blockchain, right, crypto, any of that stuff, you want to follow the suits. You don't want to follow influences. You want to follow if there are lawsuits out there, regulations, if certain things are going, what cluster are you looking at? So like we look at the Ripple platform and everything in the Ripple platform, that'll be what we would be looking at, what's happening with them, who they're taking over, if there's any lawsuits against them, if they have to pay out anything, if there's more money going in than getting pulled out, or the whales, the 50 to $100 million guys, how many are going in as opposed to how many are taking out, right? Stuff like that. So important to know. The stock market looks like the tech is cooling. So Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft is slowing down. post a quarter one run, and the small cap rotation is starting to gain steam. So small cap, right? The smaller cap stocks, they're looking to do well. And so again, you don't have to be, you just want to have an idea so you can see maybe what your customer may be going through or what the markets are like, so you can kind of show them why you're pitching them a certain thing or a certain item, even if it's not to do with stock, but it can be like, hey, if this is what's happening in the markets, uncertainty, this is how we can create certainty, right? So I would do that. I was selling physical gold. It's a natural hedge against inflation, a natural hedge against uncertainty, right? So when I knew what was happening with the markets, right, I wasn't selling gold. And that's the product they were getting. I was selling gold, but really what I was selling is the certainty that gold is going to give and stability gold is going to give their portfolio, right? To take the volatility out of what's happening, whatever they're doing over here. If real estate goes down, if inflation continues to go up, at least what I'm selling is certainty over a millennia. It's been a store of wealth passed through generations that always holds its purchasing power and happens to flourish when times are really bad and uncertain. This will give you the certainty that protects your family, right? That was it. So that was the certainty that I was pitching when I was selling physical gold. And so because we had a slight uptick in the VIX, the VIX, and the volatility index, the uncertainty is rising. So what do we sell? Certainty. We sell clarity, confidence. We project confidence, right? We're going to project confidence through, like, yep, and we boom, 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 boom. There's no, where you seem wishy-washy or you don't seem confident about what you're saying. When they're uncertain, they're not going to, they definitely won't do anything, right? So you want to make sure that you have, stuff like that under wraps, and you have, your script and your stuff good enough where no matter what the uncertainty is, knowing that whatever they're telling you is coming from uncertainty and being fearful, that's where your confidence, your knowledge, and you taking action and being proactive, listening and seeing what they're doing gives you the avenue where if you can hit it correctly with confidence and sell that certainty and clarity with the product that actually makes sense because you're doing the right thing for the customer, it's going to be very hard to logically say no to you unless you are putting off vibes of being desperate because you're chasing commission. You're not confident in yourself or your product, either one, or you're not sure how to sell it and you're confident in it, but you just don't have a good script. You don't work on it. You don't practice. You don't build your skill. You're not being proactive to role play in the mirror, record yourself, anything. Right. So if those are the things, that's where we need to start to look. Okay. And so I'm going to just go by. We don't need to know everything about all the different markets, but don't pitch urgency. You create urgency. Right. And it's a subtle difference, but it's huge. You don't pitch urgency. You create urgency. When you pitch urgency, you're telling somebody it's urgent. When you create urgency, they're feeling the urgency that they need to move and act now, not next week, not in a month. They have to act now. But if it's just words that you're talking at them, they don't believe you and they'll say, oh, yeah, that's okay. I don't think that's going to happen anyway. But if they can feel that urgency and you are putting it in a way where they are saying, yeah, you know what, that's true. This is what's happening and blah, blah, blah. And they're saying that once you get them to say it and it's their idea, it's fact, right? As you're saying it, they're not looking at it like it's fact. They're looking at it as like your opinion, right? And you need that, you're trying to influence them to your way of thinking. But once you're able to say things in a way, right, wordsmith it in a way where you ask them, does that make sense? Or are you seeing the same thing on your side? What are your thoughts on that? And they say, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that, yeah, this is something you have to move quickly with this because of blah, blah, blah. And they say it back to you. You get them to do that throughout the presentation. Done deal. That's fact. So, again, so you're not pitching urgency, you create it. There's always an emotional market tone. And so you want to make sure you know how to identify what that is. What's the emotion out there? What's happening? And the market is either coiled, right? Meaning it's coiling up, so it's coming down, but it's coiling like a snake. And it can shoot up at any time, right? Because it's definitely not dead, right? So it's only coiled. So when you're selling, you should be confident in the fact that if you're selling a good stock or in a good neighborhood, a neighborhood or a house that's not falling apart, whatever it may be, that it's whatever market you're in or whatever industry you're in, that it's just coiled, ready to spring forward. And this is the time to do it because you can take full advantage and maximize profits if you move today, right? Rather than waiting a month. Don't follow the pack and the sheep so you have a story to tell people how you could have made this much, but you only made this much because you waited, right? Be the story of, I saw that it was coiled and it looked like it was going to move. I took action and I fully maximized all the profits and I can retire now. That's the story you want, right? So again, this isn't just data. This is psychology I'm giving you guys, right? This is how you move people through psychology, through how people think, how people start to connect to you, and why they're latching onto you, right? They latch onto you if they're scared, they want to be protected. If they're greedy, they want someone who they feel like is going to put them in place where they can make money. Whatever they are feeling, whatever their uncertainty is, they're going to latch on to what you do to make them feel like they have some type of certainty in their life. And so it's without a doubt, it's a psychology, which is a powerful way to present. Markets are going to move, right? And the markets are made by humans, right? It's just the way it is, whether we have the Fed moving up and down interest rates or, the big companies or like the big money managers out there. Are they shorting stock on purpose? What are they doing? Are they moving the markets in the wrong way because they're looking to suppress the price of, say, silver or whatever else it is? So there's things that are happening, but always know that you need to understand their fear, their greed, their hesitation, if you want your interaction to lead to a sale. So understand where their fear is coming from, where their greed is coming from, and where their hesitation is coming from. And if you can figure that out, that's where all the objections will come from. Those three: fear, greed, hesitation. Fear, greed, hesitation. Fear, greed, hesitation. What's bringing it on? And that's how you get to the real objection. You handle that objection, the sale is done. You got it. You just got to, like I said in the first show, you have to actually ask for the business then, right? Ask for the business. So the power of consistency, what separates elite closers from the average representatives is boring consistency. They are consistent. The professional, the pro doesn't wait. They don't wait to feel motivated. They don't have to be in a certain type of mood. They don't, the planets don't have to align. It doesn't have to be sunny out for them to feel motivated. The pro runs the process even when it's raining, right? Even when the planets aren't aligned, when they don't feel good, when it's slow, even when the last 5 interactions, they got shut down quick and hard. No, and they couldn't close. They couldn't close it. They couldn't close a door. They couldn't do anything. They just, nothing was going right. But when that happens, you keep your call block kind of, sacred, right? Your call block is sacred. So it doesn't matter what else happened. When you get your chance, you are on, right? That's the best closers. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. They can't change that. But now can they get in the right mindset? So That's why I always keep your script sharp. It has to keep evolving. Keep your script sharp. Um, uh, Repetition is your edge. Even if you're having a bad interaction, even if I'm having a bad interaction, and it happens to all of us, I use it as practice. If I know somebody, just there's no way they're going to come in because their situation is just so dire that they can't do anything, I will still get. I'll go through my pitch and I'll go through it like hard, where they'll be like, I would love to do that, I can't though, right? But I didn't do it to get their business because they can't do anything. You never know who they know. They may refer somebody, but that was practice, right? So I'm keeping my script sharp. I'm keeping the repetition there. And so it's giving me an edge for the next time. Amateurs are waiting to feel ready, right? So it's whenever they feel ready. You're ready because you showed up, right? You're ready because you're there. If you're sitting your ass in your seat, right? You're ready because you showed up. You're there, and whatever when it comes your way, you're ready to go. You're ready to throw down right there. Done. That's a closer. So with let's see, with objections, again, real-time reaction. So let's get into this. Not just the theory, but someone says to you, it's not the right time. What do you say? So I'll tell you what 95% of the people say. They say that they freeze. Salespeople freeze. And I think Andy Elliott is correct. There's a bunch of amateurs out there. And I'm not saying that, sometimes, I can get thrown, right? I can get thrown. Everyone's human. You get some freaks like Andy Elliott, right? Or Grant Cardone, or, the monsters out there, right? Who knows? They're human too, I'm sure, but, everyone's a savage 100% of the time, never make a mistake, but they're on the top level, right? But he is right. There's a bunch of amateurs out there, and it's their fault because it's your accountability to yourself. Right. But again, sales management, sales leadership sucks. There is no sales leadership. There just isn't any. It's incredible the amount of sales managers that call themselves sales managers never coach their team. They never sit, shoulder to shoulder to show them what to do, show them how it's supposed to sound, coach them, give them an action plan on what to do, what to work on, and actually follow up. It's not happening. That don't happen. So, but what I like, I'll say, well, let's unpack that. What would the right time look like for you? Right. And then, so when they're saying these things, when they have to answer me, so then they have to answer and say what the right time would look for them. Now, if I did my job correctly in the beginning, I built up so much information on them in detail that I have a massive amount of ammunition, right? I have a lot of bullets in my gun now. So they got to be careful what they say. Because normally what they do is they say something to contradict our whole conversation on what position they're in, why they're doing it, why they need it, what their pain points are, because we spoke about it. I wrote everything down and I reiterated it to them after I wrote it down. So it's like we know it's correct, right? And so when I say, hey, so let's unpack it, they're just geared to say that. They're geared to say, let me think about it. Got to talk to my wife. Got to talk to my husband, right? No, it's not the right time right now. In a few months, so what's going to be in a few months that's going to put you in a different position? You've been researching this for how long now? Research has shown, right? That's a great word. Research has shown, good word track. In today's day and age, on average, people have been researching a minimum of 4 to 6 months before they actually go in to make a buy, right? So with that, we know that, you did your research, and I am an expert in my field. So I know exactly what I'm saying to you is exactly what this product can do, will do. And you'll see the benefits of that. And I think that you see that as well, which is why you're saying, even if you weren't going to do it now, it's just not the right time. But you see in a few months, you said that yeah, that this is something you would do because you see the value in it. So let's unpack the right time. What makes this the right time or not the right time? Can you share that with me? Right? And have that then and see what they say. And a big thing too, depending on the business. So I'll talk about in the car business, right? When you're on the lot and you demo somebody in a car when they're going to come inside, and you're sitting down, they're like, yeah, I'm not, I'm not going to buy. You don't want to go right into selling them the car, right? You're not doing that, right? You just go and make sure they like you demoed them. Hey, how'd you like the car? Loved it. Great. You love the way it drives. Let's go inside, right? When you go and see, you get them inside. And when they start saying that, you want, hypothetically, if you were to buy today, would you want the car titled in your name or your jointly with your wife, right? Hypothetically. So hypothetically, right? Hands up. Hypothetically, if you were buying today, right? Would you want it registered in your name alone or joint with your wife? Oh, okay. And that what you drove in, is that what you're going to be trading in today? Great. You know what? Let me see the keys. So what we'll do is I'll have my manager go out and put a value on your car. I just got to get information. It'll take me about 2 seconds. I'll get some information and he'll value the car. So when we get you the proposal, you'll have all the numbers so you can make the best decision for yourself. Is that fair enough? Great. Right? You go and you do your thing. You know what? Let's make sure we want to get you specific numbers so you know exactly what your monthly payment will be, since you know exactly where you want to be budget wise. So I just need a few pieces of information so we can get your credit completed. So let's just go and we'll get this done. You get there and now you got the credit. So you just, all you're doing is on just using hypothetical. What would you do? It disarms them from you saying, so would you want this vehicle in your name or join in you and your wife's name? Oh, I said I'm not buying. But if I say, hey, hypothetically, if you are buying today, right? So that means that it's a hypothetical. But what you did is now you have the appraisal sheet, you got the credit app done, you got the guest sheet done, you're getting all the numbers. And when you start doing that and you move down step by step by step, 90% of the time the sale comes that day, right? But it's the people who don't know how to overcome those objections, get frozen on those objections, that have a problem. And they freeze, and that's the mistake they make. They freeze up or they push back too hard, right? And the way they try to overcome an objection is almost feels like you're getting into an argument about it. And that's definitely not a way to go. So practice this, and this is the best way to overcome an objection. Echo, validate, reframe, and then lead. Echo, validate, reframe, lead, right? You're not a pusher. You're a partner in their outcome. And so when you do it that way, what that is that's the neuro-linguistic programming, right? And so that's a way of NLP. That's the way of influencing people, right? You echo their objection. So now you're on the same wavelength as them, right? You're not pushing back immediately on them, right? So you're echoing it and then you're validating it. I can appreciate you feel that way. Or I fully understand where you're coming from, right? So you echoed and you validated their feelings. Great. Now you want to reframe. So if they're looking at it a certain way, that's not beneficial to us. We want to reframe it, right? So now they're looking at it in a totally different way, and then you lead them into the sale. So, after you do the reframe, then what you would do is that then you lead them out. So now you're reframing them. So now what they were thinking when they first had that objection, they're in a totally different frame now. So they're not even on that path anymore. They're not thinking that specific way. It's just a small change, but they're not thinking that way. And then you lead them down the road. So with that being the case, Mr. Customer, why wouldn't you come in, or why wouldn't you move forward today, knowing that this can help you and your family today? Isn't it worth pulling, moving forward today if it's going to help your kids, your wife, whatever, feel secure starting today, rather than having them feel that uncertainty and fear that you were talking about earlier another day? Wouldn't it be better to get it done today, knowing that this really is a great fit for you and can really help you? So what we can do is this: you have option A or B. Which one fits you better? Circle it, and sign right here by the X, and I'll get everything taken care of for you, and you'll be out of here in about 20 minutes, right? Turn around the paper and hand them the pen, right? And so that's what you do. So again, remember, echo, validate, reframe the situation. So you're reframing it, and then you're leading them down. Now you're leading them down the path to the close. Okay, that's very important. If you're feeling flat, if you're sluggish, if you're unmotivated, check your rituals. What are you doing before? So what are you feeding your mind before you pick up the phone, or before you're going out to see customers face to face? What are you actually eating? What are you feeding your mind, right? Or what type of music you're listening to? What people you're staying around? Like, what are you feeding yourself to give you the optimum mindset before you go out? So what I would tell you is, what your body is doing before you walk into a meeting, really, if you can see what your body is doing before you walk into a meeting, before you walk into an interaction or a sales interaction, right, whatever it may be, that's going to be really important. And it's really important to audit your inputs. What are you inputting into the supercomputer and into your body before? And again, yes, music, food. What are you looking at? Screen time. Are you getting enough sleep? Right? If not, you have to reset yourself. So I created a routine for me, but you can create just a 3-minute power ritual to align your body and brain. So for example, do 1 minute of breathing for 60 seconds, in, all the way in, and all the way out, all the way in, right? Get a lot of oxygen in, and then you breathe out, right? And what it does is it calms your nervous system down, and it gets a lot of oxygen through your body, through your brain, get your blood into your blood, right? You big deep breath, a count of 8 in and a count of 8 all the way out. 1 minute of affirmations. Whether you go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and when you say your affirmations, I say mine out loud and I say them with gusto. But you can say whatever you want to say about whether you're abundant, that you are the number one salesman. You're the best consultant that they're going to see. I always go, when I'm in my head, I have a showtime, baby, and I go out and I just go like, they're not going nowhere. Once I lock down on them, once I close my jaw on them like a pit bull, that mechanism locks and they're stuck with me. And we are going through this sale all the way to the end. And either they're going to get up and walk out on me as I'm still talking to them, or they're buying a car, or they're going to buy that stock, right? Or make this order over the phone, or they have to hang up on me. If they do not hang up on me, it's never over. Never over, right? So that's the mind frame. And those affirmations that you make that work for you, great. And if you want, you could even use the grab avoid codes. The book here that I wrote there. Let's see. So it's the grab avoid code, and so this gives you, there's like 600 codes, but there's codes in here for financial abundance. It has a bunch of affirmations and stuff like that. So you can use anything you want. But for 1 minute, just for 1 minute, give yourself affirmations that you are the shit, right? That you have a steel trap, that you're positive, that you help, that you already help these customers, that you already get paid what you want to get paid, that you feel. So your shoulders are back, open energy, right? Mind, heart coherence, and you're going out there feeling great with a great energy, and you're shaking hands the right way, and you're doing all those things because you're coming out in a way where people are going to be attracted to you, because you're going to have that natural charisma if you get there. And then 1 minute of movement. Movement is everything. Tony Robbins is so correct with this. Every time I do it, it's great. I could be in a horrible mood. I go play pickleball. By the way, this is the Ben Johns racket. It says it's Ben Johns, right? And I can tell you this. I saw Ben Johns play. I got it, the racket that he likes, right? And I don't play nothing like Ben Johns. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I want to know why I got Ben Johns racket, but I can't play like Ben Johns. But no, anyway, but I'll go play, right? I'll go play. And actually yesterday morning, I went to go play. And when I went, I woke up and I was just in a foul mood. I didn't get good sleep. And I still went. And it was funny. One of the ladies that was there said, what, are you okay? Because I'm always smiling and laughing, right? And having fun. And I walked and I must have looked serious, I guess. And I didn't even realize I was wearing it, because usually I don't wear my emotions, but I guess I was wearing it. And I just looked like I was pissed or serious, and enough where someone commented on it, right? But as soon as I started to play and have movement and you're hitting the ball and moving and running and reframing, right? I reframed what I was thinking. All of a sudden I was laughing, smiling, and that same lady goes, there you go. Now you're smiling, right? But it didn't take that long. It was with the first volley or two, the first two volleys of the first game I played. So movement helps, right? If you stand in the victory pose for 2 minutes, right? It's supposed to raise your testosterone just standing in the Superman pose. So little things like that can raise it. But I like to hit my chest, and I give like when you play football, like that, right? Or and so I like that, because it makes me feel like my blood gets going, like my adrenaline gets moving, right? And so when I go out with energy. But again, you're not going to go out and tackle anybody. Relaxed inside. The intensity is there because you put yourself in a prime state to go and really hit it, right? So relaxed on the outside, calm, cool, collect. James Bond, right? Calm, cool, and collective. Martini shaken, not stirred, or stirred, not staken, however you do it. But James Bond on the outside, calm, cool, and collective, but like a lion on the inside, right? Because you are not letting go. Once you get in there, you're going. Right? Doesn't mean you're going to be successful at it that time, but you are going to go, and you're going to give it your best shot, because you put yourself in the best state of mind. Very important, guys. All right. So you don't need more time. You need more alignment. So if you're not aligned inside, if you're not aligned with the right frequency, you're always going to be uneasy. And people are going to, he's awkward. He's awkward in interactions. She's awkward in interactions. These kids today don't know how to be in social groups because of online. And some of that is true. The online thing is true. But it's because if the frequency isn't matching, right? If you're down here, right, and your customer is in a higher frequency, it's not going to mesh. You're just not going to mesh. You're not going to kind of bond where you can bond and have that bond I'm talking about. Because if you're on the same frequency, it's just like, wow, look how we meshed. Like we're like almost the same person. We like almost the same things, right? It's easy to flow, right? So you need to be aligned. That's where the breath work is great to do. Affirmations and stuff. It raises your frequency where you come out and your frequency is up there. Where sometimes it happens the other way, where the customer is so negative and such an energy sucker, it's not going to match. But what you find is you're the one trying to get a sale. You're trying to influence them to your way of thinking. Persistence will beat resistance. Everybody wants to be happy. Nobody wants to be a miserable fuck all the time. They just don't. And so if you're happy and you're smiling and you can, even though they're coming in and trying to take your legs out because they're miserable bastards, right? Or something may happen that day. You don't know what happened in people's lives, why they're acting the way they're acting. So give them a little grace, but do not make them affect your energy. Keep your energy high, and I guarantee they'll raise up to yours. But if you're the one who has the energy down here, they will not lower to yours. And if they do, they're going to be miserable and it's going to go lower than yours. It's still not going to hit. That's not the way it works. You have to be the one setting the tone. So you have to come out up here. You're either meeting them or they'll start to come up to you, because if you're treating them the right way, no matter how much they're being kind of an asshole to you, right? And you're still smiling, you're still trying to work for their best and greatest good, you're still trying to get them the best deal, even though they're acting like that, they will start to break and they will start to raise to where you're at. And you will influence their attitude just by your staying where it is. So if you make their attitude affect your environment, you're screwed. If you're strong enough to hold, they will rise up and it will work. Something to think about. So, all right, so this is the mental game, the next call wins mentality. So this is really important. And then after this, this will be it. But the next call wins mentality is very important. I look at Tom Brady is probably the best example. He throws an interception. He goes back out on the field. He throws the ball the very next time in traffic, a hard throw, and he makes it, and he throws it right there because he forgets the negative bullshit right away. The next call wins mentality means no matter what happened on the call before or the last 10 calls that you got blasted as a closer, you're supposed to be the best closer, but the last 10 people that passed to you, they shut you down. You couldn't close anything. You still have the belief and knowing and keep a good attitude because you know the next call is going to be the one that you get the huge trade that can be life-changing, month-changing, year-changing, whatever changing, but it's that next call is going to be the one that you win on. The next call is going to be the $1 million call. And so if you always feel that way, no matter what happened in the past, that's how you become a Tom Brady, right? You dump that garbage and that shit off, that negativity off your back, and you're right back to it, throwing the ball into traffic. You're right back on the phones, talking like you're the shit, even though the last 10 calls you got shut down like you were a shit closer, right? It doesn't matter. The next call wins mentality. It's huge. What do you do when you get a bad interaction? I'll bet you if you get an objection, most of you start to crumble. Never mind just a straight no shutdown 5 or 10 times, right? So are you practicing thickening your skin? Are you practicing, continuing to think like, all right, that great. I'm grateful that happened. Now I see what happened there. Maybe I could have did this better. I could have did that better, but ultimately, I'm moving on to the next one. The next phone call is going to be the big one. Watch how I get the next one. I cannot wait to get this next call, rather than the last 5 calls were horrible. Yeah, I don't know why I keep getting these bad calls. Everyone gets good calls with me. Everyone passes their shit paper to me. I don't know why they do that. Why would they pass this shit? Everyone gets this. Everyone gets that, except me. Right? You go into this victimhood. Then you get past somebody who could be $1 million call, but because you're so entrenched in victimhood, right? You got off in Pity City, and instead of like getting off and detouring out of there, because you just stopped there for a quick second and get out of there, you decided to build a home in Pity City. And now you're getting on the phone with $1 million customer with a victimhood mindset, which will never flow. If you are with a big guy, a successful, you're never going to close a guy like that. If you're a victim, you have that victimhood, and you're like that on the phone. You got to be hitting and firing on all cylinders all the time. So let's close with the most dangerous weapon a closer can have: a short memory. A short memory. Who cares about what happened in the last call? Who cares if you screwed up on the objection and you blew the sale? You had it, you blew it. Is it frustrating? Yes. Ultimately, are you going to get another chance to close that day? Yes. Are you going to blow that one too because you blew the last one? What sense does that make? Get back up on the horse. Let it go. Let it go. Short-term memory is the best weapon you can have. And it's hard to develop. It's hard to develop because, again, the ego's involved and you're thinking, oh, shit, they probably think I suck. I was supposed to be the closer. That's embarrassing that I couldn't close. But I had it, like, they could have probably closed that one and I screwed up, right? I shouldn't have said this. I said that, whatever. Let it go. Every call is the one. That's the mentality, right? Like I said, any customer that walks on that I'm going to get, they're buying a car. There's no way off this lot unless you're driving off of the car I'm selling you. That's my mindset. That's it. And that's it. And when I tell you that's it, I hope you can see it in my face. That's it. That's what I really think. If you get me as your person, you're getting a vehicle that day. You're getting a vehicle that day. That's my mindset. Now I can't force you in one. Who knows what happens? But I'll tell you what, it's going to give me a chance to sell. I bet you it'll give me a 95% chance of selling a car better than almost any other salesman that don't have that mindset, right? So very important to have that mindset. You don't carry your losses forward, right? Every meeting that you have with the customer is the moment, is the life-changing moment in your life, is life-changing for that customer because they met you, right? You can't feel like that if you're worried about you didn't do well on the last interaction, right? You're not going to feel that way. You have to you have to feel it so strongly in your gut, in your heart, that this is the moment that's going to change their lives and my life. This is going to be it. This is it. This is it. No matter what happened in the past, you will eventually win out and you'll go on a run, right? And so you want to reset immediately after a bad call because the next call isn't another attempt. It's the one to change your life. It's the one to change your month. It's the one to change the person who's giving you the responsibility and giving you and saying, hey, I'm giving my well-being, my financial well-being, I'm putting it in your hands because I trust you. Let them trust you because you're going to go on every interaction the right way. And so you carry don't carry your losses forward. You carry you carry a mindset of short-term memory loss. That's what you want to carry forward. You want to reset immediately by doing the ritual we spoke about. And then, the last thing is you must believe that, again, even if you were told the last 10 times an absolute no because you couldn't close the deal, you must believe that next one is going to be the one, is going to be the moment, is going to be the splash that the whole office hears about on how you closed. That's how you stay magnetic. That's how you stay charismatic. That's how people attract to you. That's how you attract the right one to call that 11th time, because the universe threw 10 pieces of shit at you and you wanted to, instead of giving up, you said, I know the universe is conspiring for me, and they'll give you a great 11th one. If not, you'll get a great 12th one. If not, you'll get a great 30th one. It never ends, right? And that's how you attract the yes. So that's what I have. I hope you realize that, it's just on this channel is not going to be a lot of fluff, so it's going to be kind of more where we're going to sharpen your edges. And I want you to be prepared when you go out there and babying, every point and prefacing every point. You got to get a thicker skin, and it's only going to help you move forward. I did include in the description parts in all the places that we show at. You'll see there's a worksheet that you can actually take. You can copy and paste it to your docs or your Word doc, and you can use it every day. It's a worksheet to see how you're doing, what you're doing. And so I would encourage you to use that. And other than that, I just want to, thank everybody who watches this. If you have any questions about anything we spoke about, how to do something, how to get there, how to get in that state of mind, anything about what we spoke about, you can either DM or go put a comment up when you follow whatever it is, and I'll be happy to walk through it on the next show with you. But have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Uh,